welcome to Mr. Knife Guy. This is part 2 of the second knife talk that we've had. In March we brought in Jared West of Mantis Knives, and today I'm really happy to announce and introduce you to Jason Brous from Santa Barbara, California of Brous Blades. He was here yesterday as well. Just want to tell you a little bit about Jason. And he's going to fill you in on the details, but because he loves to talk so much in front of people. But Jason's been making knives for just a few years, and he's very young. He's a machinist, and I'll let him describe his ideals and what inspires him and everything. But he rapidly got recognition as he started evolving into what he's making today. He uses some of the most incredible materials, finest, hardest quality materials, and his designs are unsurpassed in form and function. He's been featured in many magazines such as Knives, Tactical Knives. This was back in, what verse is this, July of 2011. He's been in a few magazines since then. He's been approached by some big corporate knife making companies such as SOG and Pro-Tech Knives. And so we're going to be seeing a lot more of Jason Brous. And I'm going to let him, with that, I'll let him tell you more about what he does. Jason.
All right, well, my name is Jason Brous. As you can see, these are my knives here. I started making knives about 2 years ago. I worked as a machinist for my dad. He owns a machine shop. And that's kind of how I learned to start cutting metal. And I actually went to Big Five one day, and I wanted to get a knife, and I was looking at the knives that they had there, and I noticed that they looked really cool, but I bought one and I used it, and the edge rolled over and it wasn't lasting very long. So that kind of made me want to start making my own knife. So 2 years ago I made the Silent Soldier, the original one. That one. And been going ever since. Yeah. And then after that, this got like a lot of people. I got a lot of sales on that one, so I decided to make a folder version of it. So basically, drew that out on paper and had my CAD guy do all the mechanical stuff, and basically, make it to print and make a CAD file from it, and started machining it. And made 500 of these. Actually, this is the blackout version. We only have 50 of those. Actually, we only have like 4 left, but the original one is over right here. This one we made 500 of, and I think this is my last one. So yeah, that's that.
So there's been, I like how Jason starts out with an idea and a design and then progresses from there. He was telling us yesterday, and I'll have him go into a little bit of detail about his inspiration. He originally started out with fantasy knives, really cool look, and like he said, but still functional. And there's a natural progression from fantasy to functional. And I can never remember the name of the artist that you're inspired by.
Lango.
Lango.
Yeah.
He's an artist who, is he a sculptor and a painter?
And a tattoo artist. He's from Brazil.
So he uses this form that's inspired by biomechanics, which is integrating machines with the human anatomy. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, the very first knife I ever made was like a fantasy style knife. And I posted that on Facebook or on the forums, and I got a lot of bad feedback on it because you can't really use a fantasy knife. So then I started looking around for like different inspiration, and as you can see, I'm tattooed up, and a lot of it is like the biomechanical art style. And a lot of the curves and shapes that you see in here, that's all kind of inspiration that I took into my knives, as far as different shapes and different styles. And I think you can kind of see that in all of these, and you can kind of see that they don't look like your average like drop point hunter. They all kind of have like an artistic twist to them. So that's how I try to go in my own lane and do something different, is trying to put an artistic twist on it, and this is what you get.
All right. So I'm going to take Jason in. We'll kind of progressively go through the different knives and the designs and the evolution. Like he said, he started off with the Silent Soldier, which really caught my attention and got a lot of popularity right off the bat. It's got a Warncliffe blade, where the point drops all the way down and the edge is straight. It's one of my favorite designs. And Jason uses mostly D2 steel, CPM D2, or also air-hardened A2 steel, and some of the harder steels. And then he uses a stock removal method where when he first started, if you go to brousblades.com, take a look at his custom knives, and they're just amazing. Those are all hand machined. He does each one of them one at a time. And as the popularity for his knives grew, he started having to mass produce them just to keep up with the orders. So he's using water jet and CNC, and still has that personal touch. So even, like he says, comes out with 500 fast batch, and they're gone. It's really hard to keep up. There's such a demand for these knives. We started off with this design. It was a Silent Soldier, the first one, and then he did several knives, and the second one was the V2, or version 2 of the Silent Soldier. It was a drop point, and the original one was sandblasted, and now he's black anodizing them, or Cerakote. Is this Cerakote as well?
It's gun coat, it's ceramic gun coat.
Okay, he started using Cerakote on some of these other knives that have the more matte finish to them. And it's from the company that invented Cerakote, actually did the Cerakoting.
Yeah, that's like the custom ones here. This is actually a mid-tech one. It's all cut out on water jet, and then I grind it by hand, heat treat it, and then send it out to get coated. And then we CNC the inside here for those carbon fiber inlays there. So yeah, like he was saying, this is coated by the actual company that invented Cerakote, and they're big supporters of Brous Blades, and they coat a lot of our stuff. Some of it they do for free, and he actually likes to trade me. Like, he traded me 2 of these to do a big batch of those. So
that's why I can't get them.
Yeah, it works out.
I want to talk about the reason you chose D2 as opposed to all the other steels.
I like D2 because I've basically learned how to heat treat it. I've basically perfected a formula to just basically, I can get 61 Rockwell, 60 Rockwell every single time I heat treat, no matter the size of the blade. And actually heard a good quote from Dwayne Dwyer from Strider Knives one time, and he said that D2 isn't great at anything, but it's good at everything as far as toughness, holding an edge, and all the other aspects that are in steel. So I love D2. I think it's easy to work with. I think you said, what, Bob Dozier said it's not easy to work with?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it is easy to work with, and I just love the way it comes out, and yeah. That's about it.
Now, I'm going to continue the story with the Silent Soldier because I just love the progression of this knife. After the V2, Jason developed a Hawk version that had quite an extended Hawk bill to it. It's kind of a wicked little, I don't know, gutter almost.
Yeah,
really
that
good. These are
one's,
self-defense.
3/16 thick. So those are 1/4 inch, and the hawk bill is like 3/16.
Okay.
So it's a little thinner.
And then he modified it and brought the bill in a little bit, modified hawk bill. So that was the 4th version, and now he's working on the 5th iteration of the Silent Soldier neck knife. It's a Tonto point. It's very similar to his triple threat.
Yeah. We're gonna have some of these available for here, but we just weren't able to get them finished in time. So, but they'll probably be available like next week or something like that. So
No problem. I know Jason was cranking to get this to you for the show, and I'm really happy that he had quite a bit. So he mostly did. It's a natural progression again for new knife makers to start out with a fixed blade. It's I wouldn't say the easiest knife to make because there's not really anything easy about it, but it's probably the fewest steps, and there's so much that you can do with it. So everything you see are fixed blades that he's done, and then when he decided to take that next huge step up in the progression of knife making, he came up with the Silent Soldier folder, which is one of my EDCs. I love this knife, and for a first folding knife, I have to tell you, I was absolutely blown away with the design and the function. and the materials and everything with the Silent Soldier folder. He used the exact same profile as the neck knife. Everything's identical in the dimensions and the design. Then he added this, it's not quite a flipper, I don't know what you call it, I guess it is a flipper. Carbon fiber scales, titanium liners and clip, and the ball bearing pivot system just makes this like butter. It's almost like an assisted. It's so smooth. And for $279, I can't say enough about how incredible I think this knife is. So that was the next step up, and it's a brilliant step. And now he has the blackout version. That's all black and Cerakoted. Is that right?
Yeah. All hardware and
completely tactical. Everything's black. So paint it black and call it tactical. And we are actually raffling one of those off today at 2 o'clock Mountain Time. $5 raffle ticket. So, and you need not be present to win.
I have a quick question. On your website, I was looking, same thing, for the Silent Soldier, because I remember way back, seeing it for the first time about a year ago, I think, and one of the ones that really caught my attention was the Ranger one that you have. By any chance, do you have any info on that here?
That's kind of like the one that he was talking about. It's basically similar to the V2, but it's longer, and it's 3/16 thick. I actually made 5 of them for here, and they sold before I could come. So I really wanted to try to bring some, but unfortunately we don't have any here.
Okay.
But you can order them on the site, and they'll probably be ready in a week or so.
Awesome.
Or through Mr. Knife Guy.
Yeah.
Either way. Another one of my favorite standards of Brous blades is the triple threat. And that came out in a, what was the finish on it? Was it bead blasted?
Yeah,
The
bead
original
blasted.
ones were bead blast. And then he did either G10 or aluminum scales. This is a black version, all black version, and I love this. All of the triple threats were serialized as well. We do have one blank. This is an original triple threat blank, serial number 23. It's available. So Jason, once again, has to kick it up a step, and you want to talk about what you're doing with that?
Yeah, we actually made 100 of those, and those probably all sold out in like 2 months or so. You're looking at like the last 2 that we have. I actually found this one in my toolbox recently. I thought I was all sold out, but I found this one and then had it all black Cerakoted. These are actually aluminum handle scales that are also coated black. The blank here is something interesting. When I have the CAD guy, and he's a genius, and he helps me a lot with a lot of the production stuff, getting it from my design into something that's the real thing. In his program, he's able to know how many holes are needed here and what size to be able to get it to hold right in the middle, so the balance is perfectly centered. So that's kind of a neat thing that he told me about. So now we are working on the triple threat folder. I was trying to have some ready for here, but
applause.
I just have like some photos of it, some like 3D CAD drawings. I can just pass them around so you guys can check them out if you want. The stock is going to be a lot thinner, so it's going to be a little easier to cut, like the 1/4 inch at these angles. Down here it gets really steep. So that's one thing that we're going to change on the folder. We're going to make it a lot thinner, and should be able to cut a lot better. We're also making a clip point version of it that's just going to have a little belly. Everything's going to be the same except for the cutting edge. So pass that on around to you. Show the content.
Awesome. Any questions? We'll turn the time over to you guys, and you guys can fire at Jason and ask him, get really personal and intimate, and I'm sure he'll reveal anything you ask him. How about where do you see Brous Blades going from this point?
I just honestly, I just want to keep doing what I like to do. This is just something that I love to do. And I like to get a lot of feedback from the customers. They tell me what they like and what they don't like, and most of the time I'll just kind of start out with, like a blank sheet of steel. I'll just start drawing on it with a Sharpie and then start cutting it off with a chop saw, and then use my belt grinder to get a profile. And that's usually when my creativeness starts to come out, and I just start doing things. Maybe a little divot here would look cool, or maybe something over here would look cool, and I just do it without even thinking about what it's going to look like at the end. So once I do that and then I put it out, and if I get a lot of good feedback on it, then we'll usually take it to the next step of, water jetting some more out, and then seeing how well they sell. And if those keep selling really well, then we can take them into production on the CNC. So to answer your question, just keep listening to the customers and see what they like, and keep trying to produce stuff that people want.
I like that. I also like how you said yesterday that you don't make anything that you don't like personally.
Yeah. Everything that you see, I would keep for myself, and most of the time I want to keep for myself, but I have kids and I gotta pay bills. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
What would be, out of like the older stuff and the newer, what's your like personal favorite? If you were to pick one.
I always go back to the original Silent
Yeah.
Soldier. This is personally my favorite. I carried this around forever. I had to sell mine off my neck because somebody wanted it, and that's pretty much the only one I have left.
It's kind of a funny story. Jason and I have been corresponding over email and Facebook for about almost a year now. When he first started, before he was doing a full production, he would send me drawings and pictures. What do you think about this knife? What do you think your customers would like about this knife? And we tried to set up kind of a consignment thing and give him a shelf. And then next thing I know, Jason's like, dude, I got to quit my day job because I can't keep up with the knife orders. And so he's been able to do that and become a full-time knife maker, designer. And like I said in the intro, now he's being approached by big names. Do you want to talk about that?
SOG is actually currently working on making this model right now. It's very similar. It's just not going to have like the 3 holes. It's going to have like one bigger slot in the middle. They're also going to go with a little thinner stock, and I think they're going to sell it at $70. And they're going to sell it with a sheath, Kydex sheath, and it's going to have a pocket clip on it.
Is it still going to be D2?
No, it's going to be one of the cheaper steels, and they're getting it made in China, which is something I don't really have control over. But
So it's going to be that 8CR13 MOV craft that they love.
something like that. Yeah.
That breaks and doesn't keep an edge to save their lives. That is SOG.
Yeah, that's just something I don't have control over. So, but the design looked good. So.
Can you talk about the?
Yeah, I was contacted by Dave at ProTech Knives about possibly making this into an automatic. So that's something that he's working on now. He actually called me yesterday, but I didn't have a chance to call him back. So
He was busy with Mr. Knife Guy.
So I'm waiting to hear back about that, see what they want to do, and looking forward to that. Yeah.
The Cerakote on that makes them black. Is that like a chemical process? I mean, is it altering the actual material on the surface, or is it more of like a spray coat, kind of just like paint or something?
It's a spray coat, and then they harden it in an oven, and that's basically how it gets its hardness.
Baked on.
Yeah, I don't know all the details about it.
It's the same ceramic coating they use for gun slides, so it's not going to rub off.
Yeah, they have like video tests on their website, like against every other coating, of just like scrubbing it and see what comes off first, and that's won every single test. So as far as I know, that's one of the best coatings available.
Similar to DLC.
Yeah.
Can you make it in orange?
He probably can, yeah. I don't see why not, yeah.
So when you carry your Silent Soldier, just the original, how do you carry it, like for everyday use?
I carry it under my shirt, and then when you ever need to grab it, you pull your shirt up, put your hand up there, and pull it out, and you're good to go. You could also wear it outside your shirt, but it's just whatever you prefer. I think that one thing that SOG's doing, they're making thinner stocks, so it's not going to be as heavy, so you're not going to feel it. For me, this one, I don't really feel it when I have it around my neck, but I think the thinner stock will help that.
Jason, what were you doing prior to making knives?
I worked for my dad as a CNC machinist. Yeah, I was in like the lathe department. So, yeah, programming, doing stuff like that. Oh, you got the original one?
Yeah. This is a second knife that I bought from Jason Brous. This one is the first, is a custom right off of his website. Couldn't believe how much a tiny little knife like this can cost. But it's completely, totally worth it. I love this knife.
Should we pass it around?
It's not for sale, but yeah, you can see it. I'll pass this around too.
So are you based in Santa Barbara or Lompoc or Solvang? I mean,
I'm in Solvang. I was born and raised in Santa Barbara. Just recently moved to Solvang because the rent's a little cheaper and I can get, a 3-bedroom house with a 2-car garage where I work, for a lot cheaper than Santa Barbara.
yeah, as opposed to living in Solvang on Lompoc and driving into.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the.
So I started when Jason was talking about selling the Silent Soldier right around his neck. When the V2 came out, Mr. Knife Guy got inundated with requests for that knife everywhere from Italy, France, Taiwan. Everybody in the world literally wanted that knife. And I kept pounding this guy, hey, when am I going to get some more Silent Soldier V2s and the originals? And he's like, I'm working on it, man, I'm working on it. And he's cranking out some of these others, and I keep seeing new models coming up. And I'm like, quit developing new knives and just make what people want right now. And so he's working as hard as he can, as fast as he can. We corresponded for quite a long time and became good friends online. And then we tried to hook up at the SHOT Show. We tried to hook up, several different shows that we were at. Were you at the USN show?
No, Blade Show.
But yeah, Blade Show, and I didn't make it. We just never hooked up until finally in June, we were both at the Blade Show, and on the last day, we were able to hook up, and I was able to meet Jason in person. It was really nice, and he was there with his girlfriend. They were both wearing Silent Soldier V2s, the black ones around their neck, and I'm like, where are my knives? Are you going to bring them? And he goes, well, all I got are these if you want these. And so I made him hand over the knives he was wearing on his neck because they were already sold. And so I literally took knives off of your neck too. But I could charge more because they were actually worn by you.
There you go.
Just kidding.
It's his personal knife.
That's right.
Do you have a time frame for the folding triple threat?
We're gonna start working on the prototype now, and that should be done in like a month. And then if the prototype comes out the way we expect, then it'll probably be maybe a few months to make all 500. So I don't know, 3 or 4 months, hopefully, if everything goes smooth. But you never know.
Yeah, how much of the production is actually in your control in terms of, do you have to outsource to other?
Well, we get like the pocket clips and the screws, all that stuff outsourced, but we machine it all in our machine shop, in my dad's machine shop. So we basically work out a deal with him, and then I'm in my own shop. I have like a manual mill and all my equipment where I make my customs. That's why he's saying, oh, why are there all these customs coming out when the production ones, they're made in 2 different spots. So that's kind of why I have a lot of custom stuff now and not very much production stuff, because it takes longer to make, and to get it coated you have to send it out to the coating company to do it, and they take 3 or 4 weeks to do it. So
Yeah, that's why I asked, because I had one custom made by a ProTech, and it took a lot longer than I expected, but it was partly because of the hold up on other parts of the process.
yeah, and they probably have a bunch of other custom orders too. So yeah, it's tough when you have a bunch of people waiting in line, and I just recently fulfilled an order that I've had for like a year and a half of something I've been trying to do. So, but some people are patient, some people aren't. Some people are just like, screw it, I want my money back, I don't want to wait this long. And other people are just like, oh, don't worry about it, take your time, whatever you need. So it kind of goes back and forth.
So how many people is it just you working?
Just me, yeah.
Just you?
Yeah, and then we have a few guys in the machine shop that run these during the day. And then once they run them, they can bring them back to me, and then I clean them up, I sand them, I finish them, tumble them, stuff like that, and then send them out to be coated. All right, why doesn't everybody come up here? I don't like this whole setup. Come look at the knives. So just pick up whatever you want.
Do you? So you said it's like a testing thing about making this one like automatic, or how's that working right now?
I basically sent ProTech like all the dimensions, like all the whole CAD files and everything.
Yeah.
And they basically need to check and make sure that they can fit the mechanism in there to be able to make an automatic. I'm not familiar with how automatics work, especially their stuff. I mean, I know it's pretty simple, but.
And if they did make it automatic, would they leave like the flip in, or would they?
Yeah, that's something that we're not sure about yet. I was supposed to call him back yesterday. I was supposed to get all this info, but I wasn't able to. But I think that what they might want to do is like make it
Feel it in the back of my nose.
a manual button, you know, and like still flip it open and then have
Buy
the lock
whatever
as
he
the button
needs.
and then push it.
That's what I was saying.
Instead of a liner, so
This,
there's no line.
the thing that I like about the oils, instead of just treating the
I'm a fan of
symptoms,
flippers
it gets to
in
the
general, so I always
cause.
like
So it's going to start helping your body build up its own autoimmune system.
Yeah, when it
Like
comes
the
out as
allergies.
a guard, you just
So if you do this 3 times a day, you can follow it with another glass of water.
Holding it.
And he's been approached by some big corporate knife making companies such as SOG and ProTech Knives. And so we're going to be seeing a lot more of Jason Brous. And I'm going to let him, you know, with that, I'll let him tell you more about what he does. Jason.
All right. Well, my name is Jason Brous. As you can see, these are my knives here. I started making knives about 2 years ago. I worked as a machinist for my dad. He owns a machine shop. And that's kind of how I learned to start cutting metal. And I actually went to
In front of people. But Jason's been making knives for just a few years, and he's very young. He's a machinist, and I'll let him describe his ideals and what inspires him and everything. But he rapidly got recognition as he started evolving into what he's making today. He uses, you know, some of the most incredible materials, finest, hardest quality materials, and his designs are unsurpassed in form and function. He's been featured in many magazines such as Knives, Tactical Knives. This was back in, what verse is this, July of 2011. He's been in a few magazines since then.
on paper and had my CAD guy do all the mechanical stuff and basically, you know, make it to print and make a CAD file from it, and started machining it and made 500 of these. Actually, this is the blackout version. We only have 50 of those. Actually, we only have like 4 left, but the original one is over here. This one we made 500 of, and I think this is my last one. So yeah, that's that.
So there's been, I like how Jason So welcome to Mr. Knife Guy. This is part 2 of the second knife talk that we've had. In March we brought in Jared West of Mantis Knives, and today I'm really happy to announce and introduce you to Jason Brous from Santa Barbara, California of Brous Blades. He was here yesterday as well. Just want to tell you a little bit about Jason. And he's going to fill you in on the details, but because he loves to talk. So
Big Five one day, and I wanted to get a knife, and I was looking at the knives that they had there, and I noticed that they looked really cool, but I bought one and I used it, and the edge rolled over, and it wasn't lasting very long. So that kind of made me want to start making my own knife. So 2 years ago, I made the Silent Soldier, the original one, that one, and been going ever since.
Yeah.
And then after that, this got like a lot of people. I got a lot of sales on that one, so I decided to make a folder version of it. So basically, drew that out on